responsible for each other.
And the first time Luke and I hung out, I started yammering on about systems analysis, and I will not do that here today. But I will say that approach is, to me, that's reality. Is that if there's a pathology, if someone behaves in a way that's not good for the community, there's a context. In some respect, that's an outcome of the community. Now, you can blame an individual if you think they're primarily responsible, but they don't live in a vacuum. You know, there's always a context, and with systems, the idea is that you don't just look at where the problem is. You figure out how did this emerge within this system, and what's wrong with the system, rather than. So anyway, I guess I'm saying, yes, that Native American concept seems to me very much consistent with the latest and best thinking in systems analysis.
I mean, the example I'm thinking of is they could never figure out who killed Custer, right? Because every time they asked one of the members of the tribe, well, who killed him? I did. I did. They all did. We all did.
Right.
We all killed Jesus.
Right. Funny because it's true.
There's
Maybe.
something there, though.
Yes,
we
there
did.
is.
We
Yeah.
If you ask my
Right.
brother, who is robust in his Jewish identity, he will say, "Fuck yeah, man! I wasted him, and I'm glad I did it." Like, and so there.
And we crucify him every day in our unbelief. We crucify Christ anew. Every generation that stays Jewish, we crucify Christ anew.
From the perspective of
Christians, Oh, but even from a Jewish, we deny that he was anything more than a carpenter.
Right. Then a what?
Than a carpenter from Nazareth.
Oh, right. Yeah, because we think we're not bending before idolatry, and they think we're being stiff-necked. So,
Right, he was like a false prophet that it talks about in the Torah, and we know how
He's
to
the
handle
dreamer of
those
dreams.
guys.
We know what to do with those guys.
We know what
just
to do with those
intuitively
guys.
Jewish guys.
Like,
Jewish guys are badass. Really.
We put him to death, and we're glad.
Right. Well, certainly if you think he was a dreamer of dreams and polluting the Torah with his heresies, then good God, he got the least that he deserved. The only problem is they didn't do it earlier.
Exactly, Monica.
I think you guys are being hard on Jesus.
No, I'm a big fan of Jesus.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say, he's really just performing the Yosef story. I mean, really, isn't he? We're talking about a dreamer. We're talking about... I mean, isn't Jesus just this guy who comes along who really, really loves text-centered Judaism and then really, literally performs what it means to follow text-centered Judaism?
I think that's a very plausible way of looking at it, and I personally, I lived in Ireland for a long time. I love crucifixes. I think that the crucifix is a wonderful icon that I intuitively understand. I was kind of adopting what I thought was what I imagine would be the Judaic perspective, and would be my brothers or people like that. So but yeah, no, I think Jesus. Look, he came along and said he tried to repeal, for example, the kashrut. Okay, homie, don't play that. If this is your thing. So I mean, how are you going to deal with somebody like that? Well, you take care of them, and so that's what they did. I mean.
So do you think he's God, Monica? Do you think he's co-equal with God?
I may not personally, but I don't know that I can say he's not for somebody else. I mean, it's so subjective in the spiritual world right now that it's tough to say. I may not say that, but... Right.
Well, look, I think I maybe alluded to this before. I have a friend who he was in prison in Japan, and he got out, and he had kind of a Christian awakening while he was there. And I got him, Imitatio Dei, Imitations of Christ, because I thought that was a good book for him. And it was because I think it was. I mean, it wouldn't be for me, but yes, I guess that means I'm ecumenical in my...
This goes back a couple chapters in Deuteronomy, right, where there was that reference to, you brought this up a couple weeks ago. It was something about not worshiping the gods who haven't been allotted
to Israel.
As if there are other gods that have been to other people, allotted to other groups. Yeah, I'm still fascinated by that verse.
Well, my understanding is that actually, or I've heard it said, I guess, that Judaism in its Israelite stages was, I forget what the term was, but essentially polytheistic, but they had their favorite. and that over time, maybe with Ezra or something, that was eliminated and it became truly monotheistic. I don't know whether that's true, but it's certainly out there as an idea.
See, like those Cocoa Krispies there, I'm going to award them to the person that comes up with the smartest comment today. You're going to get some Cocoa Krispies.
That's incentive.
See, when I went to Limud LA, which was this weekend conference, and then I was given like 3 boxes of food to take to the homeless. But I figured, like, this is almost like being homeless, so I just brought them back here. And those are what's left of the food that I was to give to the homeless.
Right. Okay.
Cocoa Krispies. So, like, if someone comes over here and they've got a sweet tooth and they want dessert, and this is about the only dessert I've got, I give them Cocoa Krispies, and they keep. I mean, so they're a year old. I mean, they're still good. They still crackle.
They're better in some way. I think Cocoa Krispies are known for aging well.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, first of all, this is not home. This is a bachelor pad, man. This is how you do it.
This is like a sukkah, except you can't see the stars, but it's pretty similar.
No, I think you got everything you need here. Yeah, but no.
Is that your bank book?
No, this is a moleskin. It's one of my pretentious gestures. It's kind of a European artsy thing. Europeans get these. I don't know why. And you write it. You feel. I don't want to wear a beret. This is as far as I'll go. So, like, you know, it's romantic. It's very romantic of me to be using this instead of my BlackBerry. Emma, did you hear that? Romantic. Okay, but
okay, cool. So we got the prize. So we got our eye on the prize. So verse 2. In the verse 2, it says that God presented the fiery Torah to them. I mean, this is no limp document.
Right.
Fiery, I think, is a very good word for describing the Torah.
Yes. Well, I was saying, I mentioned last week to Luke that he asked, well, what about this do you like? And I said, I'm in some ways, I think, titillated by the raw aggression of the Torah. And yes, I mean, it is fiery. I don't know if that's exactly the word I would use for it, but it's close enough. I mean, it's certainly not limp. I mean, look, here's an example of how it's not limp. In 33:11, we're talking about the tribe of Levi, and we're saying, "Bless, O Lord, his substance, and favor his undertakings. Smite the loins of his foes; let his enemies rise no more." So that stream of thought kind of runs through the whole thing. I mean, it's smiting the loins of your foes and obliterating the momsers. I mean,
right.
I mean, you know,
smashing the loins, is that like Torah talk for kicking in the balls?
To me, well, I interpret it metaphorically as just like make him impotent, and so that whatever he's attempting to accomplish in this world, none of it happens. But you know.
Monica, what do you think of like the tribal aspect of Judaism? As someone who's come to Judaism, and it's not just an abstract ethical principle of Judaism. It's not just abstract philosophies or teachings about life. It's like a separate, distinct, holy people that the Torah and the whole system of Judaism is trying to set up, which is like got a really strong tribal aspect to it. And so you're not just devoted to abstract principles of like love your neighbor, but like you're concretely committed to preserving your group. What do you think?
Yeah, except that love your neighbor is the foundation of any kind of community. I mean, you can't have one without the other. I don't think. But no, I mean that is one of the two, I'd say, big things that draws me to Judaism is the idea of community.
Yeah.
And also the idea, and some people will probably disagree with me about this, and I guess it depends what community within Judaism you're talking about, but the degree to which a community doesn't necessarily mean one monolithic set of opinions or viewpoints. It can consist of multiplicity of different points of view, and I don't know that that's so. That's not been so in my experience in other religions, Christianity in particular. So,
yeah, I agree with that, and I mean I feel like one way I used to kind of defend the Jewish community when I was living overseas is I would say, I mean there are kind of instruments of control in mainstream community that try to be oppressive and try to enforce kind of a monolithic set of behaviors, but it's not. But that doesn't describe the Jewish community as a whole. I mean, there are. I always said, there are the types of debates you can have within, with Jewish people and Jewish community is actually very, very broad. It's very kind of